The tales of Viking raids strike fear into the hearts of many people across Europe during the 8th to 11th centuries. But what many don't know is that Vikings were not only fierce fighters, but also great storytellers. And what better subject for stories than gods? While we may have heard about some of the most famous Norse gods, such as Thor and Odin, there are still many stories that even the most smart folk scholars don't know. Join us today as we explore lesser-known facts about Norse mythology and uncover the mysteries behind these fascinating legends. Number 10. The mystery of Kvasir and the mead of poetry. In Norse mythology, Kvasir was an early giant who is credited with creating mead, a type of alcoholic drink made from fermented honey and water. Kvasir was a wise and poetic giant, and he used his knowledge and skills to craft a special batch of mead that was said to grant those who drank it the ability to recite poetry and to tell stories with great skill and eloquence. This mead became known as the mead of poetry, or the mead of inspiration, and it was highly sought after by both gods and humans alike. According to legend, Kvasir was killed by Loki, the god of mischief, and one of the most infamous figures in Norse mythology. Loki is said to have tricked Kvasir into drinking his own mead, which then caused him to fall into a deep sleep from which he never awoke. With Kvasir's death, the knowledge of how to make the mead of poetry was lost to the world, and it was only recovered when Thor, the god of thunder, retrieved Kvasir's cauldron from the bottom of the sea. Number 9. The origin of Yggdrasil, the world tree. Yggdrasil is a huge ash tree that connects the 9 realms of the Norse cosmos, and it is considered to be the center of the universe in Norse mythology. The tree is said to have been created when the first giant Ymir was killed by the god Odin. Odin used Ymir's body to create the world, and Ymir's blood flowed into the roots of the ash tree, giving it life. According to legend, the roots of Yggdrasil reach down into the underworld, while its branches reach up into the heavens, connecting the 3 realms of the dead, the living, and the gods. It is said that the tree is constantly being attacked by 3 great serpents, and that its leaves are eaten by a stag every night and regrow each morning. Some scholars believe that Yggdrasil represents the connection between the physical world and the spiritual realm, while others see it as a symbol of the interconnectedness of all things in the Norse cosmos. Number 8. The prophecy of Ragnarok and the return of the dead. Ragnarok is a series of events that are said to occur at the end of the Norse mythological age, and it is often referred to as the twilight of the gods, according to prophecy. Ragnarok will begin with a series of natural disasters and calamities, such as earthquakes, floods, and the death of many important figures in Norse mythology. However, it is said that after Ragnarok, the world will be reborn and the dead will return. Some scholars believe that the prophecy of Ragnarok was actually a metaphor for the destruction and rebirth of the Norse pantheon itself. As their beliefs and practices changed over time, it is possible that Ragnarok was a way for the Vikings to explain the death and resurrection of their gods, which was a common theme in many ancient religions. Number 7. The hidden wisdom of the Voluspa. The Voluspa is an ancient Norse poem that is a major source of information about Norse mythology and beliefs. It is said that the poem was written by a seeress named Sibyl, who is said to have lived in Sweden around the year 1000 AD. The Voluspa is divided into 6 sections, each of which contains a number of prophecies and predictions about the future of the Norse pantheon. One of the most famous sections of the Voluspa is the Hinskifta, or the sayings of the Sibyl, in which the Sibyl predicts the coming of Ragnarok and the return of the dead. However, There are also sections of the Volsunga that contain hidden wisdom and secret knowledge about Norse mythology that has not been widely recognized until recently. For example, some scholars believe that the Volsunga contains references to a group of female deities known as the Valkyries, who are said to have ruled over the underworld. Number 6. The secret teachings of the runes. Runestones are a common feature of the archaeological record in Scandinavia, and they are often inscribed with mysterious symbols and characters. But did you know that the runes can also reveal secret teachings about Norse mythology and beliefs? According to legend, the runes were revealed to humans by Odin, the god of wisdom and magic, and each rune is associated with a particular god or goddess. By understanding the secret teachings of the runes, it is said that one can gain access to hidden knowledge and powers. For example, some scholars believe that the rune Fehu, which is associated with wealth and abundance, can bring good fortune to those who use it correctly. Others believe that the rune Uruz, which is associated with strength and power, can help to heal the sick and protect against evil spirits. It is said that the full power of the runes can only be unlocked by those who have completed a special initiation ritual. But the details of this ritual are shrouded in mystery and have been lost to time. Number 5. The forgotten goddess Sif. Sif is a goddess in Norse mythology who is associated with the earth, fertility, and the harvest. She is the wife of Thor, the god of thunder, and the mother of his children, Magni and Modi. Despite her importance in Norse mythology, Sif is a relatively obscure figure, and there is little known about her origins or early history. However, some scholars believe that she may have originally been a fertility goddess, who was later absorbed into the pantheon of gods and given new attributes and powers. One of Sif's most famous attributes is her long flowing hair, which is said to be so beautiful that it catches the attention of the god Loki. In one story, Loki makes a wager with Thor that he will not be able to go 3 days without bathing. When Thor breaks the wager by bathing in a nearby river, Loki mocks him and cuts off all of his hair as punishment. Thor is furious and vows revenge, and the two gods engage in a battle that nearly destroys the whole Norse pantheon. Number 4. The mysterious origins of the god Heimdall. Heimdall is a minor god in Norse mythology who is said to be the watchman of the gods and the keeper of the Bifrost, the rainbow bridge that connects the realm of the gods to the mortal world. He is often depicted as a watchman or a border guard who keeps the enemies of the gods out of Asgard, the realm of the gods. However, there is very little known about Heimdall's origins or early history, and his role in Norse mythology is somewhat unclear. Some scholars believe that Heimdall may have originally been a human hero who was elevated to god status after performing a great deed or defeating a fearsome monster. Others believe that he may have been a nature spirit or a guardian deity who is associated with the protection of sacred places. Number 3. The hidden legacy of the Vanir gods. The Aesir and the Vanir were two distinct groups of gods in Norse mythology, and they were often depicted as being in conflict with each other. The Aesir were the more well-known group of gods, and they were associated with the natural forces of the physical world. The Vanir, on the other hand, were a more mysterious and secretive group of gods who were associated with fertility, magic, and wisdom. Despite their differences, the Aesir and the Vanir eventually came together to form a more unified pantheon of gods, and the legacy of the Vanir gods can still be seen in some of the surviving Norse myths and legends. For example, some scholars believe that the Vanir god Frey, who was associated with fertility and the harvest, may have been the inspiration for the later Christian Saint Fié. Similarly, the Vanir goddess Freya, who is associated with love and beauty, may have been the inspiration for the later female figure of Freya in Norse mythology. Number 2. The lost tales of the Proto-Norse pantheon. The Proto-Norse pantheon was a group of gods and goddesses that were believed to have been worshipped by the pre-Christian Germanic peoples. These beliefs and traditions eventually evolved into what we now know as Norse mythology. Unfortunately, very little is known about the Proto-Norse pantheon. Most of what we know comes from later Norse sources that often demonized or marginalized these earlier beliefs and practices. However, some scholars believe that the Proto-Norse pantheon may have played a larger role in shaping Norse mythology than is commonly believed. They argue that many of the later Norse gods and goddesses may have originally been part of the Proto-Norse pantheon, and that their beliefs and traditions were simply incorporated into the later Norse pantheon. Number 1. The elusive nature of the goddess Ostara. Ostara is a goddess in Norse mythology who is associated with spring, fertility, and the dawn. She is sometimes depicted as a personification of the sunrise and is said to be the mother of the god Balder. Despite her importance in Norse mythology, Ostara is a relatively obscure figure, and there is very little known about her origins or early history. Some scholars believe that Ostara may have originally been a goddess of the Wiccan tradition, and that her worship was brought into the Norse pantheon by the Germanic peoples. Others believe that she may have been a local goddess who was worshipped in a specific region before being incorporated into the wider Norse pantheon. And there you have it, 10 lesser-known facts about Norse mythology that you may not have known before. From the mysterious origins of Yggdrasil to the elusive nature of the goddess Ostara, Norse mythology is filled with fascinating and enigmatic tales that continue to captivate people today. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to subscribe, like this video, and hit the notification bell icon if you want to learn more about the ancient history of Vikings. Thanks for watching.